record. Pero ito pa lang naman yung juicy part eh, no?
Yes, sir.
Hold on, let me start recording. Okay. This is another thing I love about Teams. The recording is not that big. The video recording. I usually teach 1 to 1.5 hours a day. I record the full meeting, and the file is about just 80 MB, so it's easily accessible to students. That's another thing I love about Teams. But anyway, for those who were not able to attend the live meeting and who are watching this recording, um, thanks to your classmates, their rants and their their propositions, we decided to make some changes on homework one. So we decided for you that these are the only required items. All right. So you will need to solve problems 1 and 2. Forget about 3 and 5. Hindi na required yung 3 and 5. But if you have time or if you are curious, then go ahead, try problems 3 and 5. And then you need to choose 2 among 4, 6, and 7. All right. So that means there's a total of 4 items that you need to submit. Problem 1, problem 2, and then any 2 among 4, 6, and 7. Forget about 3 and 5 for now, right? And then we also decided that you can submit solutions to homework problems until the finals day, all right? The final examination day. I think that is sometime in August. So don't be too anxious meeting the deadlines. But to give an advantage to or incentive to those who submit on time or who submit the entire homework before the deadline, they will get 10%. What did I say? 10 or 20?
Sir, 20.
20.
Hindi na pa pwedeng ibalik sa 10.
Ay, sir, hindi po.
Nasabi
20
niyo na,
po.
sir.
Nasabi niyo na po.
Ay, teka, wala na kayong ebidensya that I agreed on 20. Hindi record yung... All right, sige. For homework 1, since this is the starting week, and you're still adjusting to me, to the way I'm teaching. So okay, so you get 20% mark off for for homework 1 if you submit on time. So kapag submit na kayo ng 4 problems following the specifications we stated earlier, before the deadline, which is 11:59 p.m. on
July, sir. July 3.
July 3, right before 11:59 p.m., you will get 20% of your total score. All right? So kung naka 15 over 30 kayo, you get additional 3 points, so you'll have 18 over 30. All right? And then I'll think about what would be ang bagong pakulo for homework 2. So that's our deal for homework 1. And then some hints. All right, just going back, I was telling them a while ago that for problem 1, most of you might have tried to mimic the solutions we have in the examples, wherein we consider arbitrary elements of the set G. So naglet AB, naglet A, B, C, D, and E, F kayo. And then you try to prove that addition and multiplication are associative, but probably you, and actually I also forgot that G is only Z2 cross Z2. So G only has 4 elements. So it would have sufficed if you had made an operation table.
Yun nga, sir. Isip ko din.
Yung elements niya. Pero medyo malaki pa rin pala kasi to show associativity, we need to show it is true for 4 permutation 3.
Opo. Pero sir, gaman lang no.
Pero 3. Kakunti rin pala siya kasi 4 permutation. Kasi kailangan din yung ordering di ba? Kasi hindi pa natin na-prove yung commutativity. So, kailangan apat. So, well, that's fine. That's another way to do it. And that's actually the key because I guess there's only one person yet who got the multiplicative inverse right for the elements of for G. Oh, by the way, before going there, about multiplicative, about the identities. you don't, as I mentioned earlier, you don't need to show me how you got your your additive and multiplicative identities. So, kasi one way is to solve an equation, right? Solve
Yeah.
when is a comma b plus c comma d is equal to a comma b. You solve for a for c and d, right? That's another way. But I don't care how you solve that equation. Ang hanapin ko lang is that your guess for c comma d really gives me back the element I started with. All right. So yun yung hanapin ko. And actually, I also had a hard time trying to find the multiplicative inverse for this set. Kasi tinry ko siya na i-solve using the system of equation that I think Aurea
Which I did,
also
sir.
tried doing. Yeah. Tapos nag-give up na ako. Tapos saka ako naalala, oops, it's just Z2 cross Z2. So I could make an operation table, right? But I love how you did it, Aurea. Kasi medyo general na siya. So yeah, with just a minor comment there.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, going back, sa additive identity and multiplicative identity, you can go with your guts. Instead of solving that equation, one way to do it is to try off the natural candidate for the additive or multiplicative identity. So ito yung G, ganito yung itsura ng addition niya. So probably the additive identity is 0, 0. That's your first candidate. And test it. Is a comma b plus 0, 0 equal to a comma b for any a, b in G? If that's the case, then that's fine. Hindi ko na hanapin paano nyo nakuha si 0, 0. May nagbulong sa inyo, may nakita kayo somewhere, that's fine. I don't care. All I care about is you show that a comma b plus 0, 0 is equal to a comma b. The same with the multiplicative identity, because I think that is a little bit trickier, because multiplication is defined in an unnatural way here, right? So, syempre pupunta ka, candidate multiplicative identity, 1, 1. I-check ko siya sa elements. Pagka ginawa ko ba na AB times 1, 1, makukuha ko uli ay AB for any AB in G. And if that's the case, then that's okay. And then you save a lot by not trying to solve a system of equation. Or pag hindi nag-work si 1, 1, perhaps 1, 0 will work, or 0, 1 will work. So those are the things that you can try. So if there are natural candidates for the identities, then go ahead, try to check them. But if all else fail, wala ka na sa usual candidates, then probably that's the time that you solve the equation. And of course, for solving equations, you can use solvers for it. So yeah. Okay, and then so multiplicative inverses naman, you can look for the multiplicative inverse for each element, because there are only 4 elements, less the 0 element. So hanapan mo lang ng inverse si 0, 1, si 1, 0, at saka si 1, 1. Right? Tatlo lang naman yung hanapan mo. You start with 0, 1. Eh di trial and error. Ilan ba yung candidates para maging inverse ni 0, 1? There are only 3 candidates, right? Yung tatlong non-zero vectors, right? So, i-multiply mo sila, sino sa akin yung magbibigay ng 0, 1 ulit. And then, you try to do that for 1. Pagka nakuha mo na yung inverse ni 0, 1, if you are lucky, it becomes 1, 0, kunwari lang. I'm not sure if that happened. So, kung si 1, 0 yung nagbigay, edi si 1, 0, ang inverse niya is 0, 1. Kasi multiplication, we have proven, is commutative, right? And that even further simplifies your life, right? So, yeah. So, okay ba yun? And one thing is that don't forget about the hint. If you are trying to solve it as if you are doing an abstract object, it's Z2 cross Z2. Z2 is the field of characteristic 2. So, pero siguro later nyo pa ma-encounter sa abstract algebra yung characteristic 2. Pero ang ibig sabihin ng characteristic 2, x plus x is equal to 0, right? So, madali naman siya makita kasi this is modulo 2 addition. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 1 is 0. So that might play an important role in proving some of the things here. But I guess those are my thoughts on problem 1. Don't forget there's a follow-up question there. I define another another multiplication. I called it x sub c, given in equation 25. And is it a field or not? The thing is, I already asked you, probably you might have proven that G together with addition and multiplication defined in 24.1 and 24.2 is a field. Then, probably hindi naman ako ganun ka-terorista na yung follow-up question ay field pa rin kasi mahaba ang proof pag field, no? So you can think of, okay, probably hindi siya field. Ano yung field property na hindi niya masasatisfy? And this is one thing. If you want to show or prove that something is not a field, it suffices to show that at least one of the conditions is not met. So, wag ka na magpakahirap, wag mo nang isama sa solution yung associativity, yung commutativity, if in the end, wala pala siya multiplicative identity. And that won't impress me. You might be thinking, okay, sasama ko na to, nagawa ko na to, tapos pag nabasa ni Sir, sabi niya, marami akong ginawa, may additional point and so on. Pero hindi, I will just be looking at that portion or the meat of your solution. So, everything else, I'll just ignore. So, baka ma-ajit pa nga ako kasi ang dami mo sinulat, ang dami ko tuloy babasahin. You know? So, yeah, but keep it as economical as possible, alright? So, para hindi nyo na rin i-rewrite. Pero if you're the kind of person like me na kung ano yung initial solution, siya na rin yung final submission, then, yeah, try to erase those parts, right? So, yeah. Okay, so those are my thoughts for problem 1. And then for problem, yeah, sure. Go ahead. Anybody? Or internet ko lang yan? Internet ko lang siguro nag-glitch.
Question, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
So, sir, di ba sabi mo Z sub 2 cross yung ginagamit mo? So, for future references, sir, ang Z sub n ba na gagamitin natin for linear algebra will directly commute to Z sub n modulo? Like in abstract?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So if I say Z3, pag sinabi kong Z3, it's the field consisting of 0, 1, and 2, just as like what you saw in abstract algebra. Kapag hindi ako nag-define ng kakaibang operation o ng kakaibang addition o multiplication on Z3, and you need to do multiplication or division, assume that it is the usual modulo 3 operation. All right? So kapag sinabi kong it's the usual field, it's the usual vector space, that means it comes with the natural operations defined on them. Right? So I tried as much as possible to define the usual operations on certain usual sets. So halimbawa R, usual addition and multiplication tayo dyan. Unless I will define a different multiplication and addition. If I didn't say something, either it means these are the usual operations or the operation doesn't matter. So magiging clear naman siya sa context as we go along. So, all right. Okay, so for problem 2, ano ba yung mahirap sa problem 2? Okay, I think the main difficulty in problem 2 is looking for the multiplicative inverse. Tama ba?
Sir, identity muna.
Identity.
Kasi nga hindi siya, kasi sir, hindi siya automatic na 1-1 the way we do it. So, parang I had to compute pa what that identity is para lumabas siya.
Di ba siya 1-1?
So, hindi po. 1-0.
Ayan, alam nyo na. Sinabi na ni Ms.
Ay, sorry. 1-0.
Okay. But anyway, yeah. So, parang ganon. But how did you get 1-0? Did you try solving it?
Yes, sir.
Solving the system?
Yes, I did the systems of equation na naman, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, that's the full proof of doing it. You can never go wrong by solving that resulting system of equation. But probably because you were thinking that I will be looking for how you got 1-0.
Yun nga, sir.
Pero in succeeding homeworks, if the point is to solve for if you want to prove the existence of a multiplicative identity, you can go 2 routes. Either you construct the solution, you construct the identity, or you give me your guess for the identity and really prove that this is the identity. So One way ay pwede kayong magsimula by the usual suspects or the usual candidates. Uh, if you look at how multiplication in problem 2 is defined, may mga multiplication, addition involved. So try 1, 1. If 1, 1
Yeah.
don't work, try 1, 0.
Yeah.
If 1, 0 didn't work, then try 0, 1.
0, 1.
Those are the usual choices. Of course, you won't pick 0, 0 because 0, 0 is the additive identity. So whenever you have, probably I forgot to mention it, but if you have a non-trivial, is it true that if you have a non-trivial field, meaning a field with at least 2 elements, the additive identity must be different from the multiplicative identity? Tama ba? I think so. Kasi dapat lahat may inverse. Lahat ng non-zero ay
Lahat
may inverse.
non-zeros.
So, ibig sabihin, kung yung second element ay non-zero, dapat may inverse siya, which cannot be the zero element. Yeah, I think that's fine. But, okay. But yun yung idea. Usual suspects. If that didn't work, then go to solving the linear equation. The system of equations, you can never go wrong with that. But again, probably you have seen that system of equation is not pretty to look at, much more to solve. So do not try to solve it by hand. We are not doing a high school algebra thing here or a course here. Try to find resources to help you, right? So try online solvers to help you. Oh, what is the solution here? Paano ko siya masasolve? You can just Google Wolfram Alpha, or if you have access to Mathematica. I think MATLAB also has capability to solve equations, at least linear equations is fine. You just need to have the symbolic solver. And I heard that UP provides for all students. So let me just look it up how to get your, probably we can all look up together. If somebody finds how to request for a MATLAB account from UP, then it will be great because it will be very helpful for us, especially the symbolic toolbox, because it will allow you to solve equations, right? And it will also be good because later, if we will be manipulating lots of equations, lot of variables, polynomials, and so on, wag nyo nang gawin yung polynomial multiplication by hand. Pa-solve nyo na lang sa software kasi hindi naman tayo high school algebra. So I don't expect you to solve blah blah yung mga simplifications like that. Except for associativity sa homework 1, all right? Except associativity sa homework 1. Because yeah. But of course, because the point of homework 1, problems 1 and 2 is to show you step by step ano yung nangyayari, how the properties are working. So pag binigay nyo lang yan sa software, ibibigay nyo yung final simplified form for say A times quantity B times C. Bibigay nyo yung mahabang expression, but you didn't get the experience of applying, pwede ko itong gawin kasi yung underlying element or underlying field or underlying structure kung saan nagbe-belong yung elements ng set ay isang field. So I can use commutativity on that. Then I can use associativity on that. I have multiplicative inverses to boot. So yun yung gusto kong ma-experience with problems 1 and 2. So once you've got the multiplicative identity for problem 2, the next question is, will elements in that set in R cross R will have multiplicative inverses? I guess multiplicative identity, additive inverse is easy. Multiplicative inverses is another thing. So here, pwede nyo isolve yung equation. Actually, that's how I think you can set it up, right? So you want to find C comma D such that A comma B times C comma D is equal to 1, 0. I guess that's what I showed you earlier. And then you can solve that equation. Of course, do not do it by hand. It will not be pretty. So use a software for that. Yeah. So saan nyo makikita yung multiplicative inverse. But you still need to reason out because what you will get there is a fraction with a very complicated denominator. And you wanna be sure that that fraction is defined for any A and B in R. So what would be the problem with fractions? A denominator being equal to 0. So you need to argue why is the denominator not equal to 0? And probably you will need the fact that A comma B is not the additive identity. So what's the additive identity here? The additive identity is 0, comma 0. Is that correct? I guess so. Yeah, component twice addition lang naman siya, no? So 0, comma 0 siya. So ibig sabihin, A and B are not both 0 at the same time. So you will probably use that fact that A and B cannot be both 0 at the same time. One can be 0, the other one can be non-zero, but they cannot be 0 at the same time. And that should be enough to show that the denominator for the C that I got and the D that I got will never be equal to 0. Hence making that C and D defined for any A comma B, right? I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, sir. Sir, pati yung S not being 0.
Yung?
Sir, di ba,
Oh,
sir,
yeah.
yung S mo is also not 0.
Yeah, tama. R and S fixed real numbers. S not being
Not
equal
0.
to 0.
So magkakaroon, sir, ng isa dong quantity na will never 0. So yung denominator.
Right. Yes. Okay. Now, problem 3 and 5 are not required. So skip muna natin yan. Pero I'll include it in the solution set. Sayang naman yung pinaghirapan kong
Sige,
i-solve.
sir.
But problem 3 is a nice play on the properties of logarithm. So,
Oh, yeah.
Nice, pero hindi siya...
Mahirap, sir.
Hindi siya masarap. Nice siya pag nagawa mo na, but during, it's a pain. Problem 4 is was identity. Yeah, it involves some trivial manipulation. I mean, I saw a lot, I think 3 or 4 people already submitted their solution to was identity, which is good. It's tricky because, of course, whenever solving equations, whenever proving things, proving equations or equalities, we usually start with one side and try to derive the other side, right? So that's what we usually try to do. And you can start with the left-hand side, but the left-hand side is very simple, right? So probably if you start with the left side, then you will need to insert some trivial things. Pwede ka mag-insert ng AA inverse, which is fine because AA inverse, pag in-insert mo yan as a multiplication to any term in that sum, that doesn't change the quantity because 1 is a multiplicative identity, right? Here, when I'm saying 1, when I'm saying 1, I'm not referring to the number 1. Kasi si 1, wala naman siya sa field. Hindi tayo sure kung naka field F siya. 1 is the additive, it's the multiplicative identity, right? So, yeah, try to play with was identity. But,
sir, question on was identity. Sir, possible ba that when you do the proving of that, you assume that itong A minus ABA equal to this one inverse? Then that means that this one is the multiplicative inverse of the other one. So then you will show that they are equal to 1. Pwede ba,
right.
sir?
Yeah, that's another way of doing it. I don't know if that's how I did it, but yeah, that's a good reading of the problem. Because here, something to the negative 1 is not the usual fractions that we know.
Yeah,
right?
sir, di ba?
So
Parang
if you read
multiplicative
that-
inverse siya of the other. So if I get that quantity, multiply it with A minus ABA, then show that it's equal to 1.
Yes,
Ganun ba yun, sir?
exactly. So, yeah, probably I should write that down. Nagrereklamo yung iPad ko. Mahina daw yung internet connection ko, but hopefully you still... Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the identity, kita nyo ba yung screen ko? Hindi. Black lang siya.
Sir,
Kita po, sir.
sir, nakikita po. May parang nakabilog, sir. Kita po.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So A minus ABA. So I'm writing some things down now, so hopefully you can see it. Kasi sa monitor ko ay hindi ko siya nakikita. Right. So this statement, right, is saying that this guy, ito, yung nasa loob ng inverse,
Is the inverse.
is the inverse of this
Of that
guy.
one.
Right? That's what it is claiming. So one way to prove it is to show that indeed this is the multiplicative identity. So what you can try to do is to say, okay, what you can do is we want to show that A minus ABA times whatever is that thing inside the inverse. This guy equals the unity, right? Is equal to 1. So this one here is the unity. So if you will be able to show that this guy is equal to 1, then you have proven was identity. But I guess submissions I saw manipulated either this guy or this guy in order to get the other one by inserting A inverse, A plus negative A, and so on, which is perfectly fine. But this is a nice approach as well. Okay. All right, so that's for number 4. For let's forget about problem 5 for now. Then problem 6. Ito yung nirereklamo yung sine and cosine na, no? So, what was your difficulty with this? I know. You probably started doing, trying to solve associativity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And it would be a pain to do that because this is a very wide selection of functions, because here your function f is a sum of sines and cosines, right? But it doesn't say that n is fixed. So pwedeng si f ay sum from 1 to n, mga cosines and sines na yan. Tapos you have another element g, which is a sum from 1 to m. And then another element h, which is a sum from 1 to p. So hindi fixed yung n. So that would be a pain. And how to multiply them? Kasi ano ba yung sabi? Usual multiplication, right? So mahirap siyang i-multiply. Multiplying a series will be hard. So, and I didn't say that this is a field right away. And if you look at the number of points allotted for this is worth how many points? This is worth 5 points. So this should not be as heavy as problems 1 and 2. So what does that tell you?
It's not a field?
Yeah, this is not a field.
Oh, I have to look for it.
Yeah. And why is it not a field? Well, you can try to show that at least one of the conditions is not met, right? But I won't dream of showing that it is not associative, because function multiplication is associative. So what can you try to do here? Trying to see if there's a multiplicative identity is also hard.
Additive.
Kasi ano yung, well, madali yung additive inverse. Kasi yung additive inverse ay what? Ang additive inverse ay negative f lang.
Okay.
Kasi yung additive inverse, no, not the additive inverse. The additive identity pala muna. So what do you think is the additive identity here? Or do we have an additive identity at all?
Cosines.
So ano yung candidate para sa para sa additive identity? Hi guys, are you still with me?
Sige, sir.
Yeah.
Negative.
Ano kaya yung candidate para sa additive identity? Kasi we're trying to see which of those conditions are not met, and I'm starting with the easy ones, or easy one to spot, right? So, ano kaya? Additive identity. What's your usual suspect?
0, 0.
Or the zero function, right? So my guess for number 6 is, okay, what is the additive identity? What's the candidate? Well, this is a set of functions, right? So sa function addition, ano yung identity? The zero function, right? So the zero function is the function that takes any element x and map it to 0, right? Yan yung additive identity. Yung function, constant function 0, right? Tama ba? Is that good?
Okay.
So such that f of x equals 0 for all x in R. This is the additive identity for the set of all functions, because if you have a function g, if you have a function f, you add it to the 0 element, evaluated at an arbitrary element x, right? Gusto mo mapakita na ito ay si f din, right? So definition of function addition, f of x plus O of x. That's how we define addition on functions, right? Probably you are accustomed to seeing a parenthesis here for, but I'm thinking of it as a single symbol. It's f plus g. By definition, it becomes this one, right? F of x is f of x because f of x is an arbitrary element. I cannot simplify it anymore. But this is the zero function, and what does the zero function does? It assigns to any x the number 0, right? So this is plus 0 again. So this is f of x. So therefore, f plus 0 function is equal to the function f. So indeed, 0 is the additive identity in the field in the set of functions from R to R. But the thing is, we are not leaving on the set of all functions from R to R. What I'm asking you to prove is to prove the set F of functions of the form sum of AK cosine of KT plus BK sine of KT is a field, right?
Yeah.
And since this is a subset, this set or the set F of all functions of this form is a subset of the set of all functions from R to R, then mag-a-apply na yung functions of this form plus the zero function will still be the function of this form, right? Kasi itong mga to nasa set of all functions. Tama? Eh ang identity ng set of all functions ay the zero function. So that means the zero function added to any function of this form must give me back this function again. So my candidate for the additive identity is the zero function. Good? So what is left to be done here? I want to show that the zero, or I want to check if that zero function is an element of the, can be written in this form. Tama ba?
Opo. Yan ang
But
cosine 1.
is the zero, can the zero function be written in this manner? Kaya ba nating isulat?
Kasi siya, di ba, pag cosine mo 1, sine 0.
Right? But you're forgetting one thing.
Hindi
AK
siya,
and BK are real numbers.
So, pwedeng 0 yan.
So that means if I replace this by 0,
Pwede.
I replace it by 0,
Okay.
I'll get the 0 function back.
Okay.
Right? So this is 0 of t. So indeed, the 0 function, which acts as the identity in the bigger set, also belongs to the set F. Therefore, the 0 function will act as the additive identity in my smaller set F. So it's a check. Meron akong additive identity. So meron ba akong additive inverse for everything in the set? So going back, if this is F, balik ko lang yung AK at yung BK. Ano yung additive identity ng function F na to? What should be added to little f to give me the 0 function?
Ang inverse niya.
Ano yung additive inverse? Ano yung kailangan kong i-add dito para makuha yung 0 function?
Negative.
Come again, sorry?
The opposite of this one, so the negation of that one.
Exactly, the negation of that one. So basically, the additive inverse
is
be
negative.
Functions of this form. Tama?
Yeah.
Lalagyan ko lang ng negative signs yung
The
AK.
negative of that one.
Tama? So pag
Yes.
inad ko sila,
F
magkakaroon
plus
na.
G is equal to 0.
Right, exactly. So I have cosine kt plus bk minus bk sine kt. So meron akong additive identity for any function f. But is this well defined? Nag-exist ba siya sa kahit anong f? Yes, because a,
Yes.
k, and bk are real numbers.
Real
So
numbers.
negative ak and negative bk are also real numbers. So this belongs in f, in big F. Right?
Yes.
So, kailangan mo na namang humanap ng reason. Bakit hindi ito magiging field? Going to what?
Multiplicative identity.
Multiplicative identity. What's our candidate for the multiplicative identity?
1, 1.
Right? Yeah, I take it to mean that you are suggesting that the additive identity is the function 1
1.
that takes any real number x to 1, right? So, yung 1 of x ay equals to 1 for all x in R. Right. But question, can we write 1
1.
in the form of
Cosine
sums
and
of sines and
sine.
cosines? Yun yung problema.
Yun na, oo nga.
Kaya ba natin siyang isulat?
Cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta.
Yeah, that's equal to 1. But,
But the function kasi is cosine and sine. Ganyan.
right. Pero ito dapat, yung...
Dapat ganyan siya.
So, kailangan ko makahanap. Meron ba akong makikita ng mga AK at mga BK na yung 1, kaya ko isulat na ganito? So, ngayon mapapaisip ka, meron bang identity? Tapos ma-stuck ka for half a day or so. So, pupunta ka na sa internet ngayon, ano? So, hanapin mo, ano ba yung significance ng mga functions na ito? Well, these functions is what we call the Fourier Sum. Yeah, let's use a different color. So, this is basically a Fourier Sum. Have you guys heard of the Fourier series expansion?
Yes.
Calculus.
Yeah.
It's in calculus.
Right. So we know that any continuous function can be written as a series of sines and cosines, right? So yun yung tinatawag na Fourier series expansion. But if you try to look at what are the, so you need to look for what is the Fourier series expansion of the constant
1.
function 1. Hanap ka sa net, meron ba? So I leave the rest to you. Sorry. So yun yung suggestion ko on how to approach this, right? So I hope makakatulog na kayo dun sa sines and cosines na nirereklamo nyo. So yeah. Or another way, actually, how I solve this is, okay, now, inisip ko, closed ba siya? Kasi yung 1 medyo mahirap pa siya eh. So hindi ko pa siya masyadong kayang isipin on my own. So what I tried to do is see if it is closed under multiplication. So I took 2 very simple examples of the set. So I started with, okay, would you agree that this function is in the set F? This simple function, the cosine function, is in the set F because here I can take n equals 1, ak equal to 1, and bk equal to 0, right? So this is one simple element of the set F. And then multiplication is defined in the usual way. So I want to see if f times f ay nasa f ba. Right? So nasa f ba yan? But what is f times f? F times f of t will just be cosine squared t. And here I tried to see, is there an identity involving a trig identity involving sines and cosines? How so that I can write cosine squared in the form given in the problem. I think meron. Siya yung ginagamit for converting powers to sum or product to sum identity. And that told me that I cannot write cosine squared as a um, in this manner, right? So hindi ko siya kayang isulat in this way. So I was able to conclude that the set big F is not a field because it is not even closed under multiplication in the first place.
Okay.
So try to formalize that argument for your solution to problem 6.
Okay.
Oh, nakakailan na kayo? Dapat na nakakakota na kayo sa submit nyo mamaya, no? And then I think problem number 7 is simple. Though it's tricky because it's very tempting to use things that we already know from before in order to prove number 7. And I want you guys to struggle a little bit with it, so I won't give any hint for problem 7 for now. But I like how one of you suggested how to read problems like this. So problem 7, A is a non-zero element of a field F. Prove that negative A inverse. So this is what you want to prove. You want to prove that negative A inverse is equal to negative of A inverse. Okay. So what are we trying to prove here? We're trying to prove that the additive inverse
of negative A.
Of negative A to the negative 1
One.
is equal to A to the negative 1.
Negative 1.
Right? So this guy is the additive inverse of this guy. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So try to add them up and see if you will get the zero element of the field. And I want you to struggle with it so that you will experience the technicalities of it firsthand. So just try to avoid using facts not stated before or not proven before, even if they are screaming at you, saying, from grade 1, ginagamit mo na ako to be true, or this statement to be true, but this is another level. So forget about that and try to avoid things that were not yet proven or not yet given. Actually, that's one thing that we say with any mathematical discussion. That's called the meta-action of ignorance. Probably those who had pedagogy courses before. It's a principle usually practiced in math that we say that we don't use anything that is not stated nor proven before. So the meta-action of ignorance, I usually tell this to my students as the first day of class. So you cannot use anything that I did not give in this class. So we are starting from a blank slate, but that would be impossible for us because you need to assume some things before, like continuity of functions, things that you have learned before, so you can use them. But in the course of our study, all those technical details should be confined to what had been proven before or what had been stated or assumed. All right. So yun, I hope that helped you with homework 1. Umunti na yung isa-submit nyo. Kumunti na rin yung checkan ko. Puti naman. But yeah, I'll try to make definitely I'll make future homework shorter. I'm thinking of module 3 to have 5 problems. At wala na kayong associativity na mahaba na gagawin doon. I'll try to give a healthy mix of problems. Probably half of them will be computational. Manipulate lang ng mga bagay-bagay just to give you an idea how to solve problems like that na medyo mechanical in nature, to practice you with the concepts, and also because when you will be teaching undergraduate linear algebra, you will be doing that anyway. You'll just be doing mechanical stuff, at least at the beginning for them, especially if they are not math majors. And then I'll have 2 problems to be more theoretical in nature. So probably 5 items for future homework. So yeah, 3 which is probably more on the mechanical side, and then probably 2 which are more theoretically involved. All right. Okay, so meron pa ba tayong nakalimutan? We planned this to be from 11 to 12, but I'm looking at my clock right now. It's 1:30 already. So thank you for sticking with me. Medyo marami ako nasasabi from time to time, so I hope that's fine. Any other concerns?
Sir, kailan po yung next meeting natin?
Yun pa. Kailan pa kayo free? Yun yung tanong eh. No?
Opo.
I'll take a look at after our call. I'll probably have a quick lunch, but I'll take a look at the survey form, your time preferences, and see ano yung pinaka-common. Though initially, nakita ko na puro Saturday yung nilagay nyo na free time. Probably because most of you are working corporate or meron na rin classes, right? But yeah, probably I'll consider it kasi isa yun sa mga na-adapt ko na after na weekends hindi ako nagtatrabaho. After 5 p.m. di na rin ako magtatrabaho unless gusto ko magtrabaho. So just to make a good as a good habit, and probably you should also practice it too. I know it might be impossible or difficult for you, especially if you are. I know public school teachers here in the Philippines are having a hard time. Also probably also private school teachers are having a hard time na hindi mo na talaga maitawid na 8 to 5 lang ako magtatrabaho Monday to Friday. Mag-spill over yan. Especially during these times wherein we don't have this clear boundary between work and home. We're work kasi dati 'di ba pag umuwi ka na mula sa office, nasa bahay ka na, mentality mo nasa bahay ka na, so little work as possible. Pero ngayon nasa bahay ka na, tas nag-work ka, so parang nakakain na ng work yung pati yung space mo dapat para sa bahay. But try to see to it that you still keep some time to yourself. Don't be burned out. Take as much rest as you want. And that's one thing about math, at least based from my experience. Hindi na ako nagpapanggap kung ayokong mag-research or kung ayokong magtrabaho or kung ayokong gawin yung problem set ko or yung homework ko. Because I know that I will not be productive anyway. Nakaupo ako maghapon, nakatingin lang ako dun sa problems. That will not be a productive use of my time. So pag hindi ko feel na magtrabaho or mag-aral, I just don't do it. Maglalaro na lang ako, mag-ML na lang, or mag-Dota, so, or lalabas na lang. I'm relaxing myself. I'm not pretending to do something. And at least I get happy. And then when I go back, okay, malapit na yung deadline, kailangan ko na siyang ikram, wala na akong choice. And usually that's when I become productive. But I guess that is because I get enough rest. So parang na-refresh din yung mind ko. So yeah, don't be too much, don't be very anxious about the deadlines. We will be flexible here. And then try to just keep some time for yourself. Get ample rest, all right? So I'll take a look at the schedule. And then I guess most of you indicated that you are good meeting about 3 hours on the average per week. So probably we can do one hour a day, if that's fine with you. You only attend if you need to. Maybe let's do it more of a consultation style. Yun din naman yung sinabi ko in the syllabus. I don't expect the live meetings to be a complete presentation of the topics. Because if that's the case, bakit pa tayo nag-modules? I could have just do it live. Hindi pa ako mag-prepare ng mga sulat-sulat like that. So, yeah. So, let's do it more of a consultation style. So, if really a certain topic or concept is not clear on how I explained it in the module, let me know. Then let's start with that. If some things are not that clear, let me know. If you want to go through a certain example in detail, just tell me the example number and we can analyze it all together. But I love what we did today. We are discussing about homework problems, your struggles, what are your questions, what did you do, what did you try, and then I'll make up suggestions on what you can do in order to solve it. All right. But that's one thing I will ask from you. Please come, at least you have an idea of what was in the modules already. So at least nabasa nyo na siya sana. So you have an idea of what we are talking about. You can give me, or you can ask sensible questions. Though for me, there's no dumb question. So feel free to ask me any question, however simple or stupid you think it is. I always tell my students it is better to look stupid for a second than to remain stupid for a lifetime. So okay lang yun, magtanong kayo ng dumb question in front of the class. I guess some students will also ask the same question, but they are just hesitant to ask. So, and it's better to look stupid at that moment. At least after we discuss your question, you understand it, then you're not too stupid anymore. Too stupid, you're not stupid anymore. But I hope you get the point, all right? So, yeah, ask questions. So, yeah, I'll be perfectly happy with it. And I'm very patient. Huwag kayong mahiya if you think your question is too basic, all right? Okay, so I'll post something probably towards the end of the day about our next schedule. But is it okay if you do it 1 hour per day, and let's say three hours? Three hours per week. Though ang requirement lang ng OU sa amin is to do tutorials for an hour a week, but I'll be willing to do it as often as you need. Though I just need to schedule some time. So probably we'll do one on on Saturdays. I say that's what you are more free, and then probably let's do the 2 other hours during the weekday. Okay ba yun? Let's do it in the weekday. Probably what would be best for you guys? Ano mas preferred nyo? Doing 12 to 1 para lunch break, pero lunch break nyo yun eh. I don't want to take your lunch break away from you. Or you want to do it late afternoon, early evening before you get your dinner? Pero pag nag-set naman ako, ma-attend naman kayo, no? Just like this one. Pag nakita ko 11, yung 11 lang yung nag-agree to this time, but I see the attendance is good for today. So yeah, but that would be my proposal. Let's do 1 hour on a Saturday, based on what has the most responses in the survey form that I sent you. I'll check ano yung Saturday hour that is good for everyone. And then let's do 2 hours within the week, or probably 2 to 3 hours. Sige, sulitin nyo na ako for this semester. Ano? Yeah, let's schedule something. Probably early evening. Is that okay? 5 to 6. Okay ba kayo ng 5 to 6?
Okay. Oh, 5 to 6 are okay. Pero anyway.
Yeah, though you are not required to attend. Hmm? Sorry? Okay ba yan? 5 to 6 p.m.? Or I can go as late as 7 to 8 or 8 to 9.
Sir, madaling araw na dito nun.
Ayaw nga, no? Sorry. Yeah.
And this time is good. Pero kung
Okay.
ano po, sir, kung mga 5 to 6, I'll try to be here.
Yeah, kung 5 to 6 p.m., what time is that in your time zone?
Sa amin, dito po, ano po, plus 4 hours. So yeah,
late na rin.
around 10 p.m. po. Opo.
Mm-hmm. Though I remember somebody's from California, so
Yeah, most likely.
that would
They
be
have
12
also,
hours or 11 hours.
So,
yeah.
3 p.m. po dito sa California, sir, if we do that time.
Come again? That
Right now, our time is 10:42 p.m.
But is that still class? So if you do 5 to 6 p.m., so that will be super early for you.
Yeah, super early for us.
It will be like 1 a.m., sir.
That's 1 a.m. here.
So is 11 to 12 a good time for everyone? Just as like what we started today? 11 to 12. Kasi baka mayroong mga corporate sa inyo that might not be a good time.
I'm okay. I'll just do what's
Probably let's do it this way. So let's see. Okay, I'm willing to do probably 11 to 12 on 2 work days. All right, and then another session from 5 to 6. So meron akong 11 to 12 a.m. 11 a.m. to 12 noon session. And then I will have sessions also in the early evening for those in the Philippines. So 5 to 6 p.m. Okay, I'll just make the formal announcement, and then we can adjust. Just let me know your reactions to those schedules. All right.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
right.
Thank
And
you,
then you
sir.
don't need to attend. Yeah, if it's too inconvenient for you, you don't need to attend. If you don't have any questions at all, you are very good or very fine with the homeworks. Then, you don't need to attend the session. So it's just for us to discuss, clarify things in the module. So lang. So it's a tutorial sort of thing. So you're not required to attend until unless you want or if you need to. All right. Okay, and then anyway, we'll just upload all the recordings in probably in one site. So and then I'll give you the link so you can rewatch it on demand. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. So anything else before we end? So I guess we had a very good day. Yeah, we had a good discussion. Hopefully, all of our sessions will look like this. So, all right. But as always, just send me an email or a chat if you have some urgent questions. But until then, yeah, let's try to keep in touch. All right. So have a good day, everyone. Thank you all for coming, and see you next time. Bye,
Okay,
guys.
sir. Bye,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir. Thank
sir.
you for your
Bye.
time.
Thank you po sa
Right.
lahat.
Thank you po.
Thank you po, sir.
Yep, you're all welcome.